Well, hello and welcome to a brand new podcast series where people talk about cancer and they talk about survival. From me to you, the art of survival. But it's nothing to do with me. I'm just here to hold the hand of the proper leader, the person whose idea it was, the survivor. Introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Judith Neptial and I am the co-founder of From Me to You, the Art of Survival. We are an organisation whose sole purpose is to promote equality for marginalised black communities. Each week we will be bringing along a trailblazer who has significantly contributed to the black community.
Then why am I here? I've done nothing. Anyway, we're here, both of us, because we're survivors, right?
Absolutely.
We're both survived cancer, but your story is amazing. Mine is absolutely boring when it comes to yours. Tell us a little bit about when cancer first visited you.
The first time I actually remember cancer being mentioned was on July the 31st at 7 p.m. I remember the time exactly.
What year?
2018. I'd gone into hospital to undertake minor surgery. And when I woke up from that surgery, I remember seeing a crowd of doctors around the bottom of my bed. And for those of you who frequent hospitals, you'll know that when you see a lot of doctors at the bottom of your bed, that's never a good sign.
Do you think you were dead or something?
Well, something like that. They basically said to me, "We have some really bad news." And I was like, okay. And they said to me, "You have cancer." And I remember saying, okay, so what do we do? And they said, nothing, we're afraid. It's terminal and there's nothing that we can do. Yeah, words can't really describe what that felt like, other than to say that the panic, it was almost like a black mist. And I remember thinking that this is going to envelope me. And at that point, I said a prayer. I remember saying that, "Father God, please help me." And all of a sudden, I just remember complete and utter peace. And I don't remember anything else. I didn't hear anything else. I just remember complete and utter peace and a voice in the back of my mind saying, it's going to be okay.
I think when I talk to people, and certainly for myself, the minute they say you have cancer, you think, I'm going to die. But yours is weird, because I said to you, you've got cancer and you are going to die.
Yeah.
And yet you're not dead.
Absolutely.
Well, I don't think you are.
I hope not.
Otherwise somebody else is sitting next to me. Did you have anybody with you?
At the point when they told me, no, I was on my own. My daughter was there actually, sorry, my daughter was, but she'd stepped away.
So when they told you that you had cancer
Yeah.
for the first time, and when they told you the cancer was terminal, you were on your own.
Yeah.
First thing I say to people is don't go to that appointment on your own, but yours wasn't even an appointment.
No, there was no escape.
They had you tied down in the bed.
Yeah, there was nowhere to go. Yeah.
And we're going to give her this news. I think that's one of the things I'd love us to investigate through the series. How people are told.
Yeah, absolutely.
How they feel. Because I remember he told me I had Hodgkin's lymphoma, right? That was mine.
Yeah.
And of course I must have gone pale. Because he said to me, I don't know why you're so miserable. I could be telling you had lung cancer. You've got a 70% chance of survival. And I remember looking at him and saying to him, You've told too many people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Does that mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
One in two of us will get cancer, right? So that means they're telling a lot of people.
Well, absolutely. I think the issue is that sometimes you can become a statistic when you're dealing with that amount of people, you know, and it's not that anybody means harm. It's just that it's something that's being done repetitively. However, I think what sometimes, you know, people fail to recognise is that each and every one of those people have a story, have a journey, have families, have loved ones. And it is the first time for them. Yeah.
I must say, in terms of the medical profession and what we're going to do is work through it. And clearly, some of the stuff we're going to be talking about is going to be culturally sensitive. You know, Is it the same for black people? Do they tell people? Does it depend on the cancer? Is it still a bad word? Who did you tell?
My daughter.
So she's gone off to get a little coffee and wee-wee, and she comes back and all these people around your bed, and you say, "Hello, babe, I've got terminal cancer."
No, actually, in preparation for her coming back, the doctors had taken her to the side as well and said to her, because I'm going to retrace. When they told me, I remember I did ask one question, how long?
Well,
and they were like,
I'm going to come to that. But it's your story, because that would be mine.
Yeah.
How long have I got? What did they say?
They said a year, under a year.
Okay. So look, clearly this is going to be interesting. It's going to be difficult. And anything dealing with cancer is going to be challenging. It affects us, the people we live with, the people we work with. Certainly mentally, I think I have ongoing things. You're lying there. But there is fun in a weird kind of way. Wait till I tell you the story of them taking out the sperm for little Eddies. That's a funny story. Or not being able to go to the toilet because they don't often find the right medication at the right time, so they have to try. So not going to the toilet for 6 days is something I'll tell you about. I won't be laughing at anybody saying they're constipated again. But the core of this is, the core of what you want to come from this is what? That you're not alone, that there's a shared experience, that you can survive it. What is it that you want to come from?
I think the core that I would like people to understand is that cancer is no longer a death sentence. You know, you can live. And I really want people to understand, especially from our community, that there are places and organisations that will help you. This no longer has to be something that is suffered in silence. You know, we are stronger together.
When did you go from being a sufferer to a campaigner? Because it feels to me that I've interviewed you over a number of years, and actually, if I'm honest, I interviewed you quite a lot in a short period of time because I thought you were going to die. I didn't know quite how stubborn you were.
You found out though.
I now know. Yeah. Clearly, that's why you're still here. But what do you say? If somebody says a year, I'm trying to think of. You kind of think of all the things you want to do, don't you?
At the time, no. My first concern was my daughter. I was a single mum. I am a single mum. And my daughter was in her first year of university. So for me, dying was not an option. You know, and I think every parent out there will understand that. No parent wants to leave their child alone in this world. So for me, everything else was in the background. It was all noise. All I knew was that I needed time. I just needed time.
To do what?
To ensure that she was able to survive.
What does that mean?
To be independent to have finished university, not asking me for money anymore,
I think
which
that
still hasn't happened.
I think that carries on. I think that carries on. Knowing what you know now, how would that scenario of you being told, your daughter being told, be different?
I think I would have liked my daughter to have been shielded from the whole experience a lot more than what she was. She was 19 and she was in the front line because I wasn't able to. I wasn't able to be that person. And yeah, she had conversations and situations that no 19-year-old should ever have to deal with. You know, what would be the preparations for helping your mum to die? What does that look like? I can't even begin, I don't even think till this day we've had that conversation. You know, I only found out maybe in the last year that they told Ashley 3 months. What's that like? What does that do to somebody?
Why haven't you had the conversation?
We've been very positive throughout this whole thing. And that takes us back, I believe, to a very dark place.
You do understand, right? In order to know when the sun is shining, you have to feel the rain, right?
Absolutely, but there's rain and downpour.
I understand that. I think what I'm doing is I'm lucky that I didn't have children when I had mine. And there wasn't a time when anybody told me I was going to die. So clearly, my experience is very different to yours. And probably that's one of the reasons that you want to do this, that everybody's experience is different. But yours is the catalyst for this. And we send young people to war at 17, right?
Right.
So when you say a 19-year-old, this isn't something a 19-year-old, you mean your 19-year-old?
My 19-year-old, yes, but I think a lot of parents in today's society would feel the same.
Because they would. Of course they would.
You know?
I know we've got 6 of these, and I'm going to try to get her on here, because I think it would be fascinating to hear. I've interviewed you, and I've interviewed her. The two of you together, be interesting, because the whole point of the podcast, so far as I can see, is that we're going to tell stories that mean that when people at home and they're going through it, they go, well, I'm not alone. Somebody else has gone through it. This is part of the process. And the one thing you got to hold on to is hope.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing that I want people to understand is that you are not alone. And that stemmed from my relationship with Ashley. You know, it was created because at that time, I felt that no parent and no child should ever have to be in that situation. You know?
What kind of conversations have you had with her then? Do you talk to her about, I don't know, periods, boyfriends? Well, I don't know, explain to me. What kind of conversations?
We have a very open and transparent relationship. There isn't anything really.
Except, how did you feel when they told you that I was going to be dead in 3 months?
Yeah.
That's interesting, isn't it?
It's a hard place to go.
Well, you want to help people, and sometimes we gotta get a little bit uncomfortable ourselves, haven't we? You ready for that? You're much more comfortable talking about the whole campaigning thing. It's really interesting to watch you. When I ask you the personal stuff, like I haven't even asked you, because I'm a rubbish interviewer, what cancer you had? What cancer you have? Have. Which one's right?
Have.
So you're still fighting it?
it's terminal, it will never go.
Well, you're still here.
It's inoperable, yeah, but I'm still here. And that's what I want people to understand. Terminal is not a death sentence.
Yeah, you're doing the campaigning thing again, aren't you?
Yeah.
It's all right, you do it.
I
If that's
can't-
you, that's all right. Yeah, but we all need to know more about it and each other. And I promise you, you will do the campaigning stuff. I promise you. I'll tell you a story, Through COVID, I've got a brother, a half-brother, who, I call him half-brother, but my brother's 8 days younger than me. So that tells you how complicated that is, right? And he said he had cancer. And he said it was inoperable. The same words you use. And he said, it's incurable. So I've got another kind of cancer, which is a skin cancer. So I have to do weird things all the time. So I live with that. So when he said to me, it was inoperable or incurable or whatever, I thought, oh, okay. He didn't tell me it was terminal. He didn't say that. His was lung cancer. And we went, and I used to go and see him, and we used to watch Columbo, and we used to talk. And it was really interesting that the only thing that he wouldn't give up is hope. And you can't give up hope, because once you give up hope, you're gone. How important is hope for you, and what is your hope with your cancer?
Obviously, the pipeline, wish for the stars thing is that one day I'll go and they'll say to me, it's gone. That would be the ideal thing.
So that's still your hope?
Yeah, absolutely. That would be the ideal thing. I don't know what the likelihood of that is, but yeah, we live in hope. I live in hope. It's not impossible, right?
Well, I don't know. I'm going to ask you some of the questions I wanted to ask my brother. Do you ever forget? Do you ever wake up in the morning and forget you got cancer?
It's a funny story about that. When I was first diagnosed, I hated waking up because I would wake up and for 30 seconds, I'll forget. And those 30 seconds were the best 30 seconds
your
ever.
Day, yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the realization would come. And yeah, the day wasn't as bright.
Yeah, but this is a good thing. I don't think I've seen a podcast where predominantly black people talk about maybe some of the nuances of cancer. Who do you tell? I didn't call it cancer for months. I didn't want to accept I had it. Them coming round and packing your leg. My wife having to give me injections every morning. I mean, there are lots of things, aren't there? So we're going to, through the podcast, examine those. And we've got some fabulous guests, and I'm going to try to take you to the edge and then pull back. Because the one thing that we will get into is the physicality of cancer is a big thing. Everybody kind of understands, but how it impacts you mentally, man.
That's what I was just going to say. The physicality is one side.
It sends you crazy.
Yeah, it's the mental side of it, that you just don't foresee. You know that when people say to you about cancer, that physically you will change.
Yeah.
It's expected. Yeah. You know that.
Yeah.
But mentally,
It's
psychologically, that's a different. I was not prepared for that.
Well, no, and we're going to explore it.
Yeah.
Just before we bring on our special guest, there is somebody that you know very well, and I kind of know, and I kind of know about him because, as I say, the podcast is about the nuances of going through cancer, but also survival, because we are both still here, right?
Absolutely.
And this guy is an absolute survivor because so much of his stuff is so public. And sometimes I wonder about him mentally too, so which we'll talk about in a little while. I'll tell you, I was moonlighting last night. I was doing a gig for the numerously skills with children, whether it's taught in schools and it's a charity. And I sat down, and I normally, when I wear my posh clothes, have my little man here. So I'm sat between two people, funny enough, Lord Tony Sewell and his wife, and a lady called Ella and her fiance Tom. And I'm hosting the event, but this is where I've sat. And Tom says to me, "What's that little man on your thing?" This is really interesting. This is last night. This is why I know the podcast is going to be great. "What's that little man?" I said, "This is for prostate cancer." His new girlfriend says, "Oh my God, that's what my dad died from." Yes? Then Lord Tony Sewell's wife says, "I've had 5 operations for cancer." And then Eleanor, who's sat here, says to me, you know, in terms of, well, she says to Tom, her boyfriend, fiance, "Tell your story." He had bowel cancer in 2008, and he was adamant that the mental side of it was much, much worse. So cancer is everywhere.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 1 in 2 people by 2030. You know, that's half the population.
So we need to talk about it.
We've got to talk about it.
And that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Eh? The art of survival, from me to you. Right, you ready for your special guest now?
We absolutely are.